Hi everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Battle Chads. My name is Dan, your host today, and I'm joined by one of my co-hosts, Sam. Say hi,
Hi,
Sam.
everyone. Oh, I was a step ahead of you there. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
And today, me and Sam are joined by Team Chad Magic member Marco, who's with us after his RCQ win on Green Black Demons. Say hi to us all, Marco.
Hello. Thank you for having me here again. So happy to be again here in the show. So happy to show that Green Black is alive. It never really died. You thought it was dead. It never really died. And so happy to tell you a bit more today about the deck and some tips and tricks and why I picked certain cards for my RC winning list that has been treating me really well. Did a couple of actually quite many top eights, I have to say, failing always to qualify, but finally in one of the last RCQ I made it. So really excited to tell you more, guys, about it.
No, it's good to have you, mate. It's good to have you.
Seems like you've joined this episode of the pod with a little bit of an agenda already going on about it never died and it never really went away. So do you want to touch upon that a little bit? Why should you pick Green Black in this current standard climate, and why do people think it died to begin with?
Yeah. So, well, personally, I never thought it died, even when people thought it died.
Yeah.
That's probably Josh that said that. Yeah. Definitely not me. No, but jokes aside, I actually played Golgari at the very start of the standard season. I was not playing Golgari Demons. I was playing a more classic mid-range Golgari. Back then, it was quite popular. There was it was also one of the finalist deck that Marcio Carvalho was piloting.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite popular back then. Then I think the mere mid-range became a thing, and so many players were playing the mere mid-range, and Golgari always and still now has a very tough matchup against the mere mid-range. And then also the whole Pixie thing came up. So there was this down aim big enough. You were playing your big threats and then they were bouncing them back to your hand, like just beating you with much better tempo. And it was just falling out of flavor. But then the reason I said to myself, you know what, I still believe in the deck is because a very popular enchantment is Nowhere to Run, right? That gives -3/-3. And I thought, what if I play a deck where pretty much all toughness is above 3?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what led me to go play Golgari, try to go turn 2, Preacher of the Schism or Sentinels of the Nameless City, thanks to the elf. And these are really powerful things that decks that run Nowhere to Run, which are becoming, well, they're pretty popular. They really struggle to deal with. And that's kind of why it led me to play Golgari. But then that was the classic mid-range version. I was doing okay. I also did 2 top 8 with that list. But then the meta started evolving. Then Esper Pixie became a thing. Control, blue-white control became a thing. Domain, well, was already a thing, but became even more prominent after they won the RC. And that's what made me switch to Demons, because Demons can really grind much better than the standard mid-range that is not running the Demon package.
Yeah.
There is also another reason I prefer Demons right now, is that the classic Demir mid-range kind of somehow disappeared. And that, made me a lot more confident to say, okay, Demons is actually the right choice. Has good matchup against blue-white control. Decent matchup against Domain. Is still very rough, but decent. And I think it's very, very good against the bounce decks. And aggro decks as well, which are both on the rise. And that's why this, for me, was the choice to fight the meta. And that's why I went for Demons.
It's a smart choice. Well, and I know, like in our testing, like we've played countless games where I'm on the aggro deck and you've been on the green black mid range deck, and it always seems as though that I'm this close to winning, and then you just drop like a Preacher of the Schism on turn 2, or you just blow up the entire board and swing for 6 with a Gix's commanded Shieldred. It's a rough day for the aggro decks, I won't lie.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think this is the best deck choice if you expect to face a lot of aggro, a lot of Pixie or Dimir bounce decks. I think this is really, really a good choice. It's also a good game against control. If you expect to face a lot of blue-white omniscience combo, or a lot of domain, maybe that's not the best deck choice. Maybe I will suggest you to pick some other deck. But if you expect that kind of meta, which is quite common these days, I would say definitely a solid choice.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned there that you've top 8'd a couple of times, and to be honest, a couple of the team members thought you were a little cursed. Do you want to go into that in a bit more detail?
Yeah, so for some reason I was always ending up losing the final of the top 8. So I was collecting all those nice promos, Force of Despair promos, but always losing in the semi-final. And funnily enough, the decks that were always beating me in the semi-final was either Dimir mid-range or the blue-white omniscience combo. So it felt like I was cursed to face them in the semi. Spoiler alert, when I won the RC, I didn't face any of those decks. So maybe that's the secret to win. It's just dodge the bad matchups. But yeah, I thought I was getting cursed.
Just got to dodge
Somehow
those bad ones.
Sorry?
Just got to dodge the badge matchups, right? You got to register into enough RCQs where you dodge all the bad ones.
Yeah, eventually you'll get the win. Always until the RCQ, you were always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But no, congratulations on your RCQ. And, I mean, just from looking at the deck on screen now, there's a lot of like weird numbers, like a lot of threes, a lot of ones, some twos, even in lands. Like there's like 3 Restless Cottage. Do you want to just go into your individual list and explain your reason for picking certain cards and how many of said card?
So deck list. So I'm gonna just not gonna spend too much time on certain things that are somewhat stock in Golgari list. I'm just gonna focus a bit on choices that are, let's say, maybe not so common when you look at some of the list online. And personally, I believe they are the right choices. Some players obviously might have a different opinion, but these are the things that really worked out well for me. And I have a lot of games under my belt. So, yeah. Looking at the demon package, so the deck is running on Unholy Annex. And I decided to go for 3. So the card is obviously super strong.
Yeah.
I decided to go only for 3 and not for 4. One, because the deck doesn't have too many demons, actually. So it's called Golgari Demons, but if you look at it, you just have Archfiend of the Dross as a 2-off, and then you have the 3 Soulstone Sanctuary. So it's not really running a lot of demons.
Yeah.
And also, you want to see the card, but in many matchups, actually, you're not too interested to go turn 2 Unholy Annex. What is really powerful here is to go turn 2 Preacher or turn 2 Sentinel. Yeah. Turn 2 Unholy Annex, in some matchups, of course, is very strong, like Control, of course. But in most of the matchups, you want to go with the big 3-mana creature rather than start drawing cards. So I felt like 3 is the nice little number. It balances the fact you don't have too many demons. I definitely died more than I want to admit to my own Unholy Annex. So I think 3 is the sweet spot that I personally like. Talking about the other demon in the room is the Archfiend of the Dross. This card, I'm not gonna lie, super bad if you're expecting a lot of stun counters coming your way. You don't want the Archfiend to be stunned because you also don't want to lose the game. But the card puts so much pressure that usually your opponent will just try to get rid of it for you, and if they don't, they probably just gonna lose to it. So 2 is a good number. I don't think you want more than that. You're obviously gonna cut it in some of the matchups, especially the ones that run Kaito or the Merfolk that stuns. You definitely don't want to see that card. And then 3 Soulstone Sanctuary, another good demon. Definitely good land to have Unfortunately, dies to nowhere to run, but nobody's perfect. It doesn't die to shoot the sheriff because it's an outlaw. So always remember that. It does just shoot the sheriff. So yeah, that's the demon package. I didn't mention one of the best secret demon of the deck is Shoulder the Apocalypse. Because even though it's not a demon, well, it will make you gain life whenever you draw the card with the NX. Basically, yeah. Making you gain to life, you lose to life, nothing changes. So for me, it's a secret demon of the deck.
Honorary demon.
Honorary demon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think it's that interesting you touched upon that maybe it's not best to rush into an Unholy Annex. Would you carry the same idea for Archfiend at the Dross? Do you want to play him early or play him later on?
No, Archfiend, you want to slam it turn 4 or even turn 3 if you have the chance. Okay. You want to put the pressure. You want to just close the game fast, and it does close the game really, really fast. I mean, it's so back-breaking if you go Archfiend of the Dross followed by Giggs Command, blow up their board, get so much damage in. Maybe swing with an 8/8 with lifelink on the air. It's probably close the game.
Everything that you've just said as an aggro player, it makes me want to vomit. I'm not gonna lie.
It means it's good. For our viewers, it means it's good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Talking about cards aggro decks love to see is the one of Obstinate Baloth mainboard.
Nice.
And I hope that, all our viewers, one day they will find somebody who smiles at them like the Baloth smiles in the card, because it's just lovely when you see that big smile. Especially if you're playing against the Hopeless Nightmare. And I think actually Baloth mainboard is much, much stronger than Baloth sideboard, ironically. Because obviously mainboard, they run Hopeless Nightmare, right? And you always they don't expect the Baloth. And that's how you get them. Usually game 2 and game 3, most players I face tend to take them out because they expect the Baloth, which is fine. But game 1 is really, really brutal. If you go turn 1 Baloth, that they usually concede. They will really struggle. And I think Baloth is also a very good card against aggro matchup, because 4 life actually does matter. It really does matter a lot. Helps you stabilize and win the race. So really, really like it mainboard. Recommend it. I've one extra Baloth also in the sideboard. Again, for the aggro matchup or the bounce pixie matchups. So really, so far good card. I like it. And then maybe other things that are interesting about the deck. I mean, the removal package, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's just good, efficient black removal. That's one of the also good reasons to run Golgari. I'm just going to say Giggs Command, always run 2 Giggs Command in your deck if you're playing Golgari. That card is amazing. I'm starting to see some other deck lists that even run 3 Giggs Commands, just to tell you how good it is, especially in this meta. It just makes so much value. I won so many games after playing just Giggs Command. It turned games around. Fantastic card. Just always run 2 and run the main board. You won't be disappointed. Maybe last thing, then before we move to the sideboard, unless you have some questions. Restless Cottage, I'm running only 3. I think a lot of lists run 4 as a kind of stock. I personally like 3 for one reason. I want this deck to be really explosive, and I hate to see tap lands that prevent the explosiveness. And when I was running 4, very often I was in awkward situations that I couldn't get, I couldn't curve properly because of my own lands.
Yeah.
And you also want to go turn 1 land over elf, right? And then turn 2 another land, and then play the creature. You don't want to have turn 1 land over elf, then, I don't know, cottage or something like that. So that's why I went for 3. And personally, I really like the 3. And you have enough mainland with the sanctuary, so that's always a good backup plan.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very clean list. It feels very meticulous almost. That everything I can see that a lot of effort has been put into numbers.
Yeah.
Is there anything maybe after your RCQ in here numbers wise that you would change?
Believe it or not, I'm thinking to cap the Shieldred and maybe replace it with a second Bailiff. I mean, this is a very meta-dependent call.
Sure.
So, it depends if you expect a lot of pixies and a lot of maybe aggro. That could be a good choice. But apart from that, so far, all my thoughts are more about the sideboard. I'm quite happy with the main deck, how it's been running. So my thoughts now are more about the sideboard. Let's see how Tarkir will shape the archetype. There might be maybe 1 or 2 cards that I think could make sense to test. But yeah, so far I think most of my thoughts go into the sideboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just before we do go on to sideboard, so you mentioned like obviously Tarkir maybe bringing new cards. Like there's the set before that's just come out, Aether Drift. There was the big beetle. I can't remember the name of it. Did you try that in any of your testing at all?
Yes, I did try. In fact, I even bought a playset in paper because I thought, this card gonna spike one day. It still didn't, and probably never will because I bought a playset.
Is that the debris beetle, like the mini siege rhino? Yeah,
that's the one.
Yes, it's a 6/6 vehicle. Costs black, green, 2 colorless, crew 3.
Yeah.
I mean, crew 3 is actually pretty good in this deck because pretty much anything can crew it. Maybe except the preacher and the elf. ETB drains 3 basically, and it has also trample, which was quite relevant. So I thought it would be really good because it would allow you potentially to snipe a Kaito if it's on the battlefield with trample. It will have a hard time removing it. It's also an artifact, so they'll just go for the throat. But somehow, I don't know, it felt a lot more awkward than I thought. So I ended up dropping it. And in Demons specifically, I don't think you have the space for that vehicle, or at least I don't think it adds much to the deck. But it gives reach. Like, I would suggest to play that if maybe you don't run an Oli Annex and you want some extra reach. Then it could make sense, but not in this list, I think.
And while Dan is mentioning big beefy hitters from Aether Drift, there's just one I want to discuss a little bit. Is it the Speed Demon? The start your engines and then you can lose life equal to... It's like a 6/6 flying trample and it draws you some cards at the end of the turn. Is that just a similar concession to the 4th Annex that at some point you can draw too many cards and pay too many life for those?
Yeah. This deck actually struggles quite a bit to get back some life. I mean, obviously you have Shieldred, you have Bailiff, okay, but like if your opponent actually gets rid of your demons and the game goes on for 3-4 turns, which is not that impossible because sometimes this deck can be a bit slow to close the game, you're gonna get hit by 6-8 damage. And I think the Speed Demon, I thought about it, I think it's a bit too greedy. It's also 5 mana, which is a big thing for this deck. I mean, you run 25 lands, so technically it's not that bad to cast it, even on curve, but I don't know. I felt like it's a bit too greedy. So I decided not to have it. It also gets bounced super easily. It doesn't do anything, on ETB. So I rather not play it. But I saw there is a player that is also playing a lot of Golgari Demons. I know he was always running it, so maybe he sees something I don't. But personally, I was not a big fan of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It seems like at the minute in the meta, it's hard to run creatures that don't have an ETB effect or if they don't have haste, just because of how prevalent Esper Pixies is with like nowhere to run or this town ain't big enough. Like, you just tap out, play a Speed Demon, and it just gets bounced back to your hand, and you essentially just get time walked.
Yeah, correct. And it's also horrible in some other matchups, right? Like aggro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
I just killed myself. Yeah.
Do you want to quickly talk us through the sideboard then, and then maybe some changes you would make there?
Yeah. So maybe just quickly telling you about the sideboard. 3 duress, I think those have to stay. I don't see any reason to cut them. very often the duress come in instead of the elves if you're not on the play and you're more on the draw, especially in the matchups where they run Kaitos. You don't want to go turn 1 elf and then your turn 2 maybe you go, I don't know, preacher or whatever, and then maybe they can go Kaito or something. So you want to be a lot more proactive. So duress, super good, obviously very good against combo, control, domain, all those kind of decks. I think minimum you should be running 3, maybe even 4, but definitely 3. I think it's the magic number, at least for me. Ghost Vacuum. So this is actually a card that I've been cutting and then putting it back, and I'm going a bit in circle with that. I think it's a bit of a meta call. Very good against Omniscience, very good against Oculus. Actually very good against the Dimir mid-range. That's maybe you might not think about it when it's like, what? Why is he bringing Graveyard Hate against Dimir mid-range? That makes no sense. Actually, it's very good because if you think about it, this deck against Dimir mid-range, it loses when they play the Curiosity, so the little cat.
Yeah.
And when you kill the cat, as you know, it comes back from the graveyard into the battlefield, and that's where you activate your Ghost Vacuum to snipe the cat. And not only that, so it's not only you don't only bring it for the cat itself, but against mid-range, Dimir mid-range, the game will go on for quite some time, and then you might end up just activating the vacuum, and then you get a board with so much good stuff, and you just might win from there. So that's why I like it. Harvester of Misery, love the card. Sometimes I'm thinking about going up to 4 copies even, but then I always cut it in the end. I love to have 3. The card is so amazing because, obviously it's very good against aggro. That's kind of obvious. But what makes it really, really amazing, and I'm not sure if it's a known tech or not, but I suggest to bring it against the Omniscience combo, because what they normally do, they reanimate the Omniscience, usually as a 1/1 spirit. And usually they also have some counter spell to protect the Omniscience and protect the spirit. And the Harvest of Misery is amazing because they cannot counter it. You just discard it, so it's not a spell on the stack. It's just a trigger, and then you snipe their Omniscience. So you stop the combo. So very, very good tech against Omniscience. I put 3 because I think that the deck will become more and more popular. At least I see online is putting up really good results. So
Omniscience.
I like something else. Sorry.
Omniscience becoming more popular.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah, it's certainly become. Can we stop giving away tips and tricks while I'm playing, please, Marco? We'll cut that bit out, Dan. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I love that, and I think that just shows like your commitment to learning all of the lines, because that's something I personally missed. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, Dan, but that's a really cool interaction and one that most players probably wouldn't even think of.
No, I heard of that line through Marco when we were testing.
Yeah, that's fair. To be fair, if you let Marco, he'll just rant and rave about Golgari in the street, so I'm sure he's shouted it at some people. But it's a great line. Let's talk about Nissa a little bit, because she plays quite an important role, doesn't she?
Yes. I mean, Nissa, like, if it sticks against domain or control, you just win the game, especially against domain. If you look at it, it's just a -1, and you destroy a target artifact or enchantment, which domain runs plenty. So you could theoretically every turn blow up something that they have. It just can win the game on its own. There is also a nice line, by the way, that might come up against domain when you're playing Nissa. Let's say that they exile it with Leyline. You have to remember that if you blow up that Leyline, Nissa comes back to the battlefield, and you can ultimate Nissa right away. And this deck runs, doesn't run too many forests, it just runs 3. Yeah, so that's not so much. But actually, what really matters beside the pump is that also all the creature gets trampled. So it could, it could make you win this line, and they don't always see it coming. So it's definitely good planeswalker. I prefer it a lot more than the other planeswalker from Foundations.
Vivian Reed?
Yes, thank you. That one. Yeah. I think Vivian is a bit too clunky, and Nissa just makes you win the game on her own. So I like it a lot more. It also scales with the game. So when you cast it for 7 mana, that's you start creating 8/8 green Phyrexian horrors that take over the game.
How do you beat those, Dan?
Oh, you don't. I mean, if you're playing green black mid range and you're bringing in Nissus against mono red, then
that's fair. That's fair. Sorry,
maybe
I forgot I was talking.
Please look at my Sideboard guide, probably in the video description. I'm not bringing Nissa against mono red.
Okay. Well,
otherwise, the viewers will stop listening to the.
Well, now mono red's not going to expect it, so it's the perfect time to actually bring it in. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. They might not expect the Nissa, especially that costs you 4 life to cast it on turn 5.
Moving swiftly on from my bad sideboard and decisions. Second Baloth on the board. We've touched on Baloth a little bit. Is this primarily then for those aggro matchups?
And bounce matchups,
Yeah.
Bounce is also a race, right? So even if you cast it turn 4, turn 5, whatever. Again, the 4 life is actually pretty relevant because those games, they always try to race you, and you probably beat them in the long game. So I personally like it, even if they take out Hopeless Nightmare. I mean, it works for me.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, like I said, it still races.
Yes.
Okay, Outrageous Robbery is next. I had to beat this card 5 times, and I'm still not 100% sure what it does.
Love it. This is it's a card that I don't think I would ever remove it from my sideboard because I just love it so much. Probably it's wrong, but I just love it so much. This spell, first of all, it's instant, and it's a pseudo draw spell. Yeah, it's a pseudo Sphinx Revelation of sorts. Obviously, you're stealing the cards from your opponent.
Yeah.
But I can tell you in the matchups that you want it's usually domain, control, so everything where the game will go on for many turns.
Yeah.
And it's not that, uncommon. You get to steal 5 or even 6 cards from the opponent. And that just changes the game completely. Once you get in the late game, you draw 5 or 6. Because even those cards are not so functional for you, they're still good cards. Like if you steal any of the domain cards, I'm sure they're good. You steal beans, you steal. Even I had this once in a match. You can steal Zur, right, from domain. And if you're also lucky that you steal one of their lands, like one of the white lands, you can actually use Zur ability on your Annex. So you reanimate your Annex, giving it hexproof and so on. Little thing to keep in mind though, I actually didn't know this interaction, so I learned it the hard way. If you're reanimating the Annex with Zur, is only looking at the rooms that you have open already when it comes to checking the power and toughness. So if you only open the Unholy Annex, then it will just be a 3/3, not an 8/8.
Right.
Just little thing to remember. I mean, this is probably super niche interaction, but it happened to me. And anyway, still, I love this card. There's nothing better than beating domain with their overloads.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just sweet. Or having access to counterspell, right? Because when you do it against control, that's also lovely.
Wow, it's I'm sold. For one, I didn't realize it was an instant. These cards have historically just been sorcery, so that's great. Is there a reason you're only playing one of these if it's so impactful in the current meta?
Yeah, I this is the kind of card that you just wanna draw very late in the game. You don't want it in your opening hand. You don't want it in your first, I don't know, 5 or so turns. Yeah,
Sure.
because it won't be that impactful. You always have better things to do with your own cards. But when you're reaching that top deck mode, then this card just makes you win the game. I don't think I lost any game where I drew this card against Domain. Like I always ended up like giving me the victory. So really, really love it. Really love the card.
Just to clarify as well, Sam, he's not bringing this in against Mono Red as well. Just thought I'd throw that out there, mate.
But if I, Dan, I feel like you would bring this in if somebody ever puts a curse, you have to play Golgari. You would definitely bring it in, right? Because then you just get to play Mono Red.
Then I get my fix of casting monsters rage. Then, yeah, exactly.
Oh, I mean,
Monsters Rage, yeah.
Archfiend of the Dross with a monstrous rage on it seems pretty cool.
It seems a bit over the top.
Build your own Monastery Swiftspear. Okay, I'm learning a lot about how to sideboard, and just to round out your sideboard, Marco, we've got some Terra Sunders and some Tranquil Throwbacks.
They come in, of course, against decks where you expect usually enchantments, or where the graveyard, in case of Thrillback, in case of graveyard, matchups like Oculus, for example. Really good card. Maybe a few words about Tira Sunder. This is also a card I'm thinking sometimes to go up one more copy in the sideboard. This is something I'm thinking a bit, because I feel like against Domain, like if Domain still stays popular and we expect a lot of Domain in the meta, the matchup against Domain as Golgari basically is you have to snipe the turn 2 beans. That's basically the secret to win that matchup. If you don't snipe it, if you do something else, beans will just gain so much value, and they will just destroy you. It's already a tough matchup, let's be honest, so it doesn't give you an auto win, of course, but from all the matches I did against Domain, you want to snipe that turn 2 beans. Absolutely. And the Thrillback is a bit too slow for that, because usually it's turn 4 at best. Turn 3 if you're lucky with the elf.
Thrillback's just like a versatile card. You could bring it in against you can bring it against Domain, you can bring it against the graveyard decks, and you can even bring it in against Mono Red. Just like I
think. I used to bring it. Now maybe maybe now it's not worth it, but in the past, Mono Red was running the Orabrast Forges. Maybe you remember that then?
Yeah, I remember that.
So you want to snipe that with the Thrillback, and he gains life. So now it's maybe a bit too slow for the Mono Red matchup. You rather do something else with that.
Yeah, I think that Mono Red decks are cutting a lot of the Orabrast Forge. They've took them out and replaced it with Sunspine Lynxes anyway. And Tranquil Thrillback does not kill Sunspine Lynx.
Nope. And talking about Mono Red, and just to finish the deck tag, since I was giving tips about Omniscience, now I'm gonna give tips against the Mono Red. Then sorry,
No!
Thank you, Marco. Thank you.
I'm trying to equalize this. Against Mono Red or Gruul, I always recommend to bring Duress. I always see Mono Red and Gruul as some kind of combo decks in a way. And if you strip away their Monstrous Rage, or might be that they also have some kind of removal or even burn spell, it's totally worth it. And also the fact that their hand, it's a big advantage, because then it allows you to tap out more freely, right? You might want to say, okay, I'm gonna develop my board and cast and tap out for a Preacher instead of keeping up mana for removal. So really, really good against the aggro decks.
Okay, brilliant.
Perfect. I think that's a really good wrap up of the deck. Yeah, and just maybe a bit of a odd question for me, especially since we've just gone through the Demons version, but why would you recommend playing this current build with Demons over maybe the Obliterator variants, or just the regular mid-range variants that we've seen in the past?
Yeah, so I tried myself the Obliterator. I even bought 4-5X in Obliterator because I got the hype after the Pro Tour. So I bought the playset immediately. And then I admit I slowly regretted it. One, because people became a lot more aware of that interaction. So the moment they see Bushwhack, or they might know you are on Obliterator, which can happen quite easily during the paper tournament because, people scout. Once they know that, the surprise factor is gone. People will play around it. Also, Obliterator actually doesn't do anything when it enters the battlefield, doesn't do anything when it leaves. Often is just a 5/5 unblockable. And yeah, it's just, obviously works wonderfully if you expect so many aggro decks, then, you don't want to see an Obliterator as a red deck. But if you expect domain, if you expect, control or but even Dimir bounce, this kind of decks, it just doesn't do enough. It just doesn't do enough. I definitely lost games against the domain after they sack 6 permanents. And they still beat me like it didn't matter. They create so many tokens, and it's just 6 permanents is nothing. It's just like, yeah, sure,
Yeah, they make a lot of game actions. Domain, it's never a good time.
Exactly. So I don't know. I personally kind of dropped it. Might be a good choice if you expect really a lot of aggro, but I can tell you, Demons, I personally think it's favored. Maybe not so much game 1 because you might draw certain awkward cards like Annex. Or Dread Knight is also quite bad against mono red. But then, game 2, game 3, Demons also has a solid matchup. The other mid-range, I think it's good. The only problem is that I think it's pretty bad against Control and Domain. So the classic mid-range without Demons, because you have nothing that really makes you draw cards. Okay, beside the Preacher and maybe the map tokens. But you don't have that big grindy element. It's just a deck that tries to curve out really well, but you're always gonna lose at least game 1 against Domain or Control because you're also quite slow. You doesn't really have reach as well. Like the fact that Annex Rain is so relevant to close out games. So yeah, I think the classic mid-range, it's fine if you don't expect a lot of Domain and Control. Yeah, I think that's a fine choice, but right now I wouldn't recommend it. So
yeah, it sounds like you're describing a perfect standard to me. No Domain, no Control.
Who knows? Next week is Ben, right? So
yeah, I was gonna say if maybe Domain if a particular type of beans does get sent to the Shadow Realm, do you think this improves Golgari's footing in the current format?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really secretly hoping they ban beans, because that's one of the bad matchups the deck has. The other bad matchup is the mere mid-range, so that's the one that you want to keep an eye on if it starts, getting more and more popular. Omniscience, not sure if that will become more popular. I guess not, because they have a good matchup against Domain, so that might make them a bit less prominent. But yeah, the mere mid-range might make a comeback potentially with the bans.
Well,
so let's see.
I have lost hours of sleep over the fact of Monsters Rage getting banned. So I'm hoping it doesn't get banned. For me, I just want them to make no bans whatsoever. Leave the format as it is. The Golgari can stay, down in the depths of the meta as to where it is.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that too then, because I like the aggro matchup, so
exactly.
I don't mind Monsters Rage.
Yeah, no, it's not good for you if Monsters Rage gets banned.
Yeah, exactly, because then there will be a drop in aggro probably, or at least, it might not be that prevalent anymore. So, and this deck preys on aggro, especially preys on aggro, preys on bounce decks.
Yeah.
So
just beans is what we're hoping for.
Just beans.
Just going. Yeah.
For the Golgari lovers, just beans, yes.
Okay, let's hope and pray. But no, I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. There's Sam, Marco, anything else that you want to add before we call it a night?
Just want to say Golgari never dies. That's all I want to say.
Unless Monsters Rage gets banned and they print beans again, maybe, and you get to play 8. Nothing else from me. I think that's a fantastic overview of Golgari's current position and that deck list. So congratulations, Marco, on your RC win. Or RCQ win. Not RC win yet.
RC win, no.
To that one. No, thank you very much. If you're watching, thank you all very much for watching with us. And, please get commenting, congratulate Marco on his win, or ask any questions that you might have that we haven't covered here. But please like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.
See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys, and it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks again, mate. Take care.